They drew the map of your failure, traced every turn, every fall, every dead end. But they never saw it coming. That moment you stepped off their map and carved your own damn path through chaos. You were never meant to win. Not in their eyes, not in their system, not in their beautifully organized little plan. They had it all calculated. Every word you'd say, every move you'd make, every time you'd break. They watched you like a show they thought they'd seen before. Same act, same outcome. The underdog gets crushed, the weak one collapses, the fool gets played. You were supposed to stay broken. You were supposed to be the cautionary tale, the background character in someone else's triumph, the one who fades out when the lights hit the stage. But here's the thing, they planned for a puppet, not a problem. They planned your end like it was a foregone conclusion. They scripted your downfall with arrogance. They cast themselves as the winners, and you as the tragedy. But you don't follow scripts, do you? You're not a tragedy. You're the chaos that rewrites the genre. You're not the broken one. You're the rebuilt one. And rebuilt things don't break the same way twice. Let me tell you a secret they never understood. Some people need to fall just to remember they can fly. And you didn't fall. You descended, deliberately, quietly. And when you hit the bottom, you didn't beg, you didn't scream, you smiled. Because down there, in the dirt, the blood, the betrayal, you found something they didn't know you had. Power, not the kind that's given, not the kind that's inherited, but the kind that's forged in pain, sharpened by silence, fueled by rage. That's the kind of power that doesn't blink, doesn't hesitate. It waits, and then it strikes. And when you finally moved, it wasn't loud, it wasn't grand, it wasn't wrapped in fireworks or applause. Number it was quiet, sharp, surgical, deadly. The kind of move that doesn't just shift the board, it flips the damn table. They didn't even see it coming. And that's what made it perfect. You didn't just return, you resurrected. And this time, you weren't asking for a seat at their table. You burned it down and built your own, out of the ashes of their certainty. They thought they were playing chess. But you were learning how to burn the board. You were never a pawn. You were never meant to move the way they wanted. You were the ticking bomb underneath it all, waiting, smiling, counting down. Tick, tock, boom. And now the game's changed. Now they whisper your name in fear. Now they watch their backs. Now they live in the reality you created. A world where the one they betrayed became the one they can't defeat. You changed the rules. No, scratch that. You deleted the rule book. Because let's be honest, what do rules matter to a force that no one can control? You moved differently. You moved when it hurt. You moved when it was insane. You moved when no one else would. That's what made you unpredictable. That's what made you powerful. Because pain is a great teacher. But revenge is the graduation speech. And oh, how you delivered it. With every step they thought you couldn't take. With every success they swore you'd never reach. With every silence you turned into a war drum. Let them choke on their arrogance. Let them drown in disbelief. Because they didn't just fail to stop you. They handed you the fire you needed to ignite the world. They built the stage. But now you're the one with the spotlight. They wrote the story. But now you're the one holding the pen. And every word you write, a reminder that no plan survives chaos. Especially not when that chaos wears a grin and walks like vengeance. You were never part of their vision. But now, you're the center of the storm. You don't need their validation. You don't want their pity. You want one thing, domination. Not just to prove them wrong, not just to make them regret, but to own the silence they left you in and turn it into a legacy they can never erase. You see, when you rise without applause, that's resilience. When you win without witnesses, that's real power. And when you change history with one move they didn't see coming, that's not luck, it's not fate, that's you. Unleashed, unfiltered, unforgivable. Let them talk. Let them lie. Let them twist the story. Because deep down, they know the truth. You weren't the villain. You were the storm they created. You were the revenge they deserved. You were the aftermath of their betrayal. And that's justice in its purest, darkest form. So don't stop now. Make every move count. Make every breath a warning. Make every step echo like thunder in their guilty minds. Because once you rise, there's no going back. Once you taste that power, the kind born from pain and forged in madness, there's no sitting still. You changed everything. One move, that's all it took. One act of beautiful defiance. One choice. They planned everything. But your move, that move changed history forever. And the best part, you're just getting started. Because once the game is broken, you don't go back to playing by the rules. You write new ones. You invent new rules. Hell, you become the rule book everyone else fears. They thought the story was over. They thought your silence meant defeat. But it was the calm before the massacre. The silence before the screaming. Now every step you take is a threat. Every breath you take is a warning. And every word you speak, a prophecy. You didn't just change history. You shattered reality. You made them question their genius. You made them doubt their plans. You made them scared to plan again. Because what good is strategy when chaos is your weapon? You became the glitch in their system, the crack in their mirror, the voice in their head that says, "You were wrong about me." And that voice grows louder every time you rise. They thought you were the end of a sentence, but you became the start of a war. You walk different now, don't you? Not like prey, not like a victim, but like a storm in human form, unapologetic, unpredictable, untamed. Because you've learned, when the world turns its back on you, you don't beg for acceptance. You take your place, even if you have to carve it out of stone with bleeding hands. You no longer crave validation. You don't need applause. You don't chase peace. You demand fear, because fear is currency. And now, you're filthy rich. You see, the most dangerous creature in this world isn't the one who has nothing to lose. It's the one who lost everything and still came back smiling. That's who you are now. Your scars, they're not signs of weakness. They're not reminders of the pain. They're proof that you survived the worst and still had the audacity to become worse. They made you a villain in their story, didn't they? Good. Villains don't beg. Villains don't break. Villains don't get betrayed. Because they never trust to begin with. You became the darkness they ran from, the consequence they never thought they'd face, the product of their lies, and the punishment for underestimating you. They built their empire on your back. Now watch them choke on the dust as you grind their kingdom into the ground. And the beauty of it all, you didn't even have to scream. You just showed up, different, darker, deadlier. Suddenly the tables turned. The people who tried to bury you, now they're praying you never look in their direction. Because they know, if you do, there will be no mercy. You don't play fair anymore. You don't fight to survive. You fight to dominate. And domination doesn't come with rules. It comes with blood, with silence, with a smile they can't decode, and eyes that never blink. Because now they know. They didn't just fail to break you. They built something they can't even fathom. A force without boundaries, a mind without limits, a soul without fear. You became what they never expected, and exactly what they deserve. And now every time they close their eyes, they see your grin, they hear your footsteps, they remember your silence. You didn't just return, you haunt their pride. You haunt their ego. You haunt their fake apologies and twisted schemes. Because you don't forgive. You don't forget. And you damn sure don't fold. They planned everything. every failure, every betrayal, every lie. But they didn't plan on your darkness becoming your power. They didn't plan on the broken soul turning into a storm. They didn't plan on the puppet cutting its own strings and becoming the one who pulls theirs. Now you sit in the shadows, not because you're hiding, but because that's where kings are born. Not on the throne, but in the dark, in silence, in madness. And when you finally step out, oh, they'll wish they killed you when they had the chance. But it's too late now. You're not the same. You're sharper, colder, untouchable. And that move, that one unpredictable, insane, beautiful move, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the reign of a monster they created themselves. So here's your crown, not made of gold, but of fire. Wear it with a grin, because they planned everything. But you burned the plan and became the legend.